Be informed. Be guided. Be inspired. As Hector Macalalag Leadership Channel proudly presents review sessions for Principals SWAIN and DMT.
A blessed day to all of you. Welcome to another episode of National Qualifying Examination for School Heads. Medyo matagal-tagal din ako nag-upload ng this kind of video, and we're still hoping and praying na matutuloy talaga ang principal's test. Despite the fact that lately, may mga development na nakakalungkot, like the early retirement of Yusek Jess Mateo, na siyang nag-sign ng advisory na magkakaroon ng announcement of the principal's test. Nevertheless, there will be principal's test in the future. So, it is best for all of you to prepare and to be informed. Ang tatalakayin ko ngayong araw na ito ay inclosure ng DepEd Order number 33, series of 2021. This is about school-based preparedness and response measures checklist for tropical cyclones, flooding, and other weather-related disturbances and calamities. Well, nasa Boca world na tayo, di ba? So, kailangan talaga, we must be proactive in dealing with the tropical cyclones, flooding, and other weather-related disturbances and calamities. We must be proactive in order to have that preparedness and response measures to these uncertainties in our life because of so many disturbances that is happening. Because in Boca world, yung volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, at dinagdagan pa ng Career Service Executive Board ng DVOCAD daw, that is disruptive. So, we must be proactive in dealing with this kind of challenges. Kasi darating at darating talaga siya sa mga paaralan. So, kailangan may mga gawin tayo, mga preparedness and response measures for these disturbances. Ito po ang inyong lingkod, Dr. Hector Dinasya Macalalag. Let us start with preparedness in normal times. It is said here that even in the absence of pre-disaster advisories and warning signs, capacities to prepare for disaster response must be established and strengthened. As such, the following minimum assessment, planning, and capacity building measures shall be undertaken in normal times. So kahit daw, in the absence of mga advisories or mga warning signs for disasters, kailangan talaga establish as strengthen pa rin yung preparations natin. At take note, ito ay mga minimum assessment, planning, and capacity building measures. If you can go beyond of these preparations, then it is best and better. The first one is ensure the availability of updated baseline education data of the school. So, kasi may mga maghihingi anytime ng mga baseline education data. And this must be available anytime. So, sa mga principals, dapat nandun ito sa laptop ninyo. At sa mga in-charge ng DRR, kasi anytime kayo hingan ng mga data, dapat available ito. So, lalong-lalo na sa baseline talaga, ay yung sa paaralan. So, hindi yung may maghihingi na ng reports, saka pa kayo mag-cramming, no? So, kailangan you must be proactive. Kailangan available yun mga baseline data ng ating paaralan. So that, kung may maghingi from the national, regional, and division level, updated kaagad, no? Kaagad, makabigay kaagad ng mga relevant data that is needed for this baseline education data. Even in normal time. So, wag yung natin proactive talaga. No? So, dapat we must be many steps advance. When possible, use the second or higher floors of multi-story school buildings for laboratory, computer, and textbook rooms and equipment. School records, document, equipment, and learning materials should also be stored in rooms located in these floors and secured in waterproof containers or packaging. Ah, ano talaga, no? Kung in case may mga ano natin, yung mga paaralan, may mga second or third floors or higher pa. So, the better talaga nasa taas na lang natin ilagay lahat ng mga gamit, mga equipment, mga school records, at higit sa lahat yung mga waterproof na containers and packaging. So, for safety purposes. In cases when schools have no multi-story structures, pre-arrange with the LGU the use of available multi-story government structures which can house these resources in times of disasters. So, kahit hindi pa nag-start yung disaster, so we can lobby with the LGU so that we can use their multi-story building kung may mga available, no? So, pwede nating i-negotiate na hiramin yung mga ganon. Pero mostly naman sa mga paaralan ngayon, may mga second floor. So, kung wala, we must lobby for available in the locality para talaga safety yung ating mga records. Kasi yung mga baha, hindi natin ma-predict. Bigla-bigla na lang lumalaki, tumataas yung tubig. So it is better talaga na elevated at waterproof ang mga containers at packaging ng ating mga school records. So it is very important to preserve these records kasi pag wala na ito, wala na tayong mga records sa paralan. Pwede na lang kung nag-back up kayo digitally. So may mga backup plans kayo on those records. Remove structures or items like garden or landscape decorations, school ground furniture that may obstruct the movement of learners and personnel from the classrooms towards the open school grounds, pre-identified evacuation areas, and entrance and exits. No? So yung may mga structures na mga decorations or school ground furniture na maka obstruct no sa movement ng mga learners and personnel, dapat hindi yan maging dahilan na matagalan yung pagtakbo or pag-evacuate ng mga movement ng learners and personnel from the classroom towards the open school grounds. So, ito yung mga suggestions. You prune and trim trees that may cause harm to people or damage structures or properties in the event of any weather disturbance. So, dapat yung mga trees, dapat talaga ay naka-prone siya, no? So, ibig sabihin, i-trim yon. Parang gupitan yung trees. So that hindi delikado like yung mga weather disturbance, baka magkahulog-hulog yan, maging cause pa ng danger. So, wag naman putulin kaagad yung trees kasi mahirap ng trees, no? Magtanim at magpalaki ng trees. And then, it is very important to regularly clean and clear all drainage systems. Kahit walang in normal times, kahit walang baha, there must be a regular cleaning and clearing of all drainage systems. In doing this, kung may mga biglaan na mga weather disturbances, so hindi ka agad magbaha kasi you have clear and clean. So, kailangan talaga bigyan ng pansin ng mga paaralan yan. Kasi baka hindi na useful, hindi na functional yung ating mga drainage systems. So, pag nangyari yon, kahit kaunting ulan lang, talagang magbabaha kasi yung mga drainage system, mga barado. So, during normal times, we must ensure that the drainage systems are in functional and good conditions. Conduct an annual risk assessment to the student-led watching and hazard mapping prior to the development of the School Improvement Plan, guided by the Department Order Number 23 Series of 2015. So, yung student-led watching and hazard mapping nakapaloob yan sa DepEd order na nabanggit. And you address identified hazards in coordination with concerned DepEd offices, the LGU, and community stakeholders. Kasi nga naman, yung paaralan is a combination of all this, the efforts of all the LGU and community stakeholders. Lalong-lalo na yung PTA, no? So, sila talaga yung link natin sa outside. So, kailangan talaga nakalabi tayo sa kanila. Kasi pag susuluhin natin yung mga problema, mga requirements ng ating paaralan, hindi kakayanin ng DepEd. Kaya nga may School Governing Council tayo so that makita natin yung mga pangangailangan ng isang paaralan. So kinakailangan talaga na magkaroon tayo ng linkage. Then coordinate with the local DRRM Council to harmonize and align DRRM measures. So we must coordinate with the DRRM para yung mga measures natin ayon sa standards. Kasi pag nag-ano tayo ng ating sariling interpretation, baka hindi yan naka-align sa standards ng DRRM. So dapat we must coordinate kung ano yung mga measures na gagawin natin sa paaralan. So remember, there are rules and regulations that is set on the DRRM. So we need to harmonize with the guidelines. So wag tayong mag-establish ng sarili nating guidelines. So we must coordinate. Create and update the school DRRM Contingency Plan. The contingency plan should include a student family reunification plan. The contingency plan can be a section of a school DRRM plan which contains a prevention and mitigation plan. So, dapat talaga yung student family reunification plan at is part, no? Dapat may plan tayo na ganyan sa contingency plan. Yung mga pag magbalik na yung face-to-face natin, dapat part yan sa ating contingency plan na yung mga bata ay ma-reunite sa kanilang mga family. Integrate the DRRM in regular school programs and activities and in school improvement plan. For this year, gagawa na naman tayo ng bagong school improvement plan. So, dapat yung DRRM integrated sa school improvement plan para hindi tayo mahirapan, especially on the utilization of and planning of and allocation of the budget that is intended for that. Pre-identify possible locations for temporary learning spaces o tinatawag na TLS and alternative delivery modes of education. So wala pa naman tayong face-to-face. Of course, yung mga modes natin ngayon ay yun talagang tinatawag nating modular instruction. Establish and operate an early warning system like bulletin board for weather advisories, bell or siren for emergency signal, mobile or web-based warning system. So, kayang-kaya natin yan. Marami tayong mga pamamaraan. I'm sure yung mga school heads natin ay mga creative naman in doing that. So, yung bulletin board for the meantime, hindi siya accessible sa public kasi nga pandemic tayo ngayon. Walang masyadong makakakita kundi yung mga personnels lang sa ating paaralan, yung mga teachers at mga non-teaching personnel. So, pwede yung mga bell or siren as an emergency signal. And then, yung sa mobile talaga or web-based warning system. So, ito talaga magamit natin kasi sa ngayon ay ito yung ating mode of communicating safely. So, lalong-lalo na may mga lugar ngayon na ECQ or MCQ, mahirap yung mobility ng mga tao. Then, maintain, disseminate, and post relevant and updated emergency hotlines and disaster measures and plans in strategic locations throughout the school. So, yung mga emergency hotlines, This must be available at nakikita sa lahat ng portion ng school, hindi lang sa school kundi sa mga websites at mga groups at mga group chats natin. Lahat ay dapat nakapaskil lahat ng mga emergency hotlines. Yung sa fire, yung sa mga ano pa yung mga emergency hotlines na ano natin like 911. So dapat nakapaskil lahat ng 'yan or yung mga contact numbers of any DRRM personnel in charge of the school kasi dapat accessible yan sa public kasi pag may mga emergency tayo weather disturbance, we can immediately uh, uh, disseminate those informations. Then, in coordination with concerned DepEd offices and community stakeholders, make available emergency response equipment and supplies. So, dapat yung mga response equipment and supplies natin ay ready. So, and available. And then, conduct quarterly multi-hazard drills applicable to the school's identified hazards. So, if you have identified hazard in the school, you conduct multi-hazard drills that is applicable and timely for your school. And do not forget to coordinate with the DRRM in charge concerned para we will be guided. Involve the LGU, parents, guardians, partners, and other stakeholders in the conduct of the drills. Of course, kaya nga sinabi ko kanina, di ba? Yung paaralan ay para sa community, sa ating partners, and ating mga stakeholders. Hindi natin kakayanin if we will do it alone. So we must involve the LGU, the parents, and the partners, and other NGOs para sa pag-conduct ng drills so that we will be guided and may mga wisdom din yan na makikita natin pag if we involve everybody, di ba? So, they can give suggestions, timely suggestions, so that our drills will be improved and our plan for the schools will be improved. And then conduct capacity building activities, including but not limited to basic life support and use of the emergency and response equipment and coordination mechanisms involving learners, personnel, and community stakeholders. I remember when I was still a principal, we are connected with an LGU, yung sa Save Our Children, no? So, yung school kasi namin palaging nababahaan. So, we conducted basic life support program and emergency preparedness of the school in times of flood. So, we can always connect with non-government organizations or even with our DRRM in charge para magkaroon tayo ng mga capacity building, capacitate natin yung ating mga parents, ating mga teachers, most especially the employees inside the school, and other stakeholders so that they will be guided when emergency and mga disaster may occur in the future. And then, the following measures must be undertaken in case a pre-disaster risk assessment initiated by relevant authorities like the NDRRMC, Pag-asa, or LGUs call for preparedness. So, actions. So, a yellow warning fall advisory is raised or a general flood advisory is issued as a result of weather-related disturbances, tropical cyclones, low-pressure areas, intertropical convergence zone, tail end of a frontal system. So, we must adopt the following measures. We must undertake these following measures in case this will happen. So, it is very important for us to be prepared when all of this will happen. No, so we must take note of this enclosure to the DepEd memo. Then, activate warning systems to disseminate advisories to learners and personnel. So, may mga warning system na sinabi ko kanina, you can also do online, you can also do mga bell or siren, so, and any others, no? Then, coordinate with the LGU using existing guidelines on the cancellation or suspension of classes and work. Of course, yung mga existing guidelines pa rin natin that can be used in taking precautionary measures in order for the decisions to be made on the cancellation or suspension of classes and work. We must be guided with that. And then take necessary steps to secure weak parts of school buildings against heavy rain and strong winds. Single-level schools built at ground may be anchored by a guy wires to strengthen the stability of the structure, yung mga guy wires, no? So, para hindi siya masadong maano sa kung may bagyo man na darating. Then, prone or trim trees that may cause harm to people or damage structures or properties in the event of any weather disturbance. So, dapat talaga nagupitan or na-trim na yung trees, bawasan na yung mga anumang bagay na huhulog so that when there is a calamity, then we can say na you are ready. So, kasi pag hindi naka-trim yung mga trees o naka-prone yung mga trees, there are possibilities na pag may dumaan na mga tao, mahulugan sila ng mga parts ng trees, lalo na pag malaki na, no? So, prevention is always better than cure. So, it is very important to prune and trim those trees. Then the second one is clean and clear all drainage systems. So, sinabi ko yan kanina, di ba? Kasi naman kung kunting ulan lang, pag hindi naka-clear and clean yung mga drainage systems, so maaaring magbaha kaagad sa inyong lugar. So it is very important to take note of these things. So kahit wala pang darating na mga baha o darating na mga calamities, so kailangan we must clear the drainage systems. Then, we always switch off electrical lines. This is prevention sa mga sunog-sunog. So, dapat kung aalis at hindi ginagamit, lalo na pag mga gabi na or hapon na, uwi na yung mga tao, make it a habit to switch off electrical lines. And then, most importantly, you safeguard or place inside the containers to protect against water and transfer education resources and vital records in pre-identified storage area. So may mga storage area tayong identified sa ating mga paaralan. So dapat yung mga dapat i-protect nakalagay na sa containers. Kung maaari yung hindi maano ng tubig, yung hindi mapapasukan ng tubig. Marami namang mga containers na malalaki na hindi napapasukan ng tubig. And transfer these resources in the pre-identified storage area. So, dapat yung storage area natin, pre-identified ito. So, dapat ano natin ito, identify ito so that this will be a place wherein all these records will be placed. So, response measures. Within 24 hours from the receipt of notice from the Division DRRM Coordinator or local authorities like the LGU or the local DRRMC of advisories on the weather disturbance, coordinate with the Division DRRM Coordinator on the status of preparedness and or response measures. Yung mga Division DRRM Coordinators, may mga ano naman yan sila, may mga group chats. So, I'm sure may mga instructions dyan in order for the coordination when there is a weather disturbance. And then, updates on the impacts of the hazard. Like, for example, suspension of classes and work, the use of the school as an evacuation center, and then the impacts to learners and personnel. So, every school is really a possible venue for evacuation area, lalong-lalo na pag walang evacuation area ang isang LGU. So, kailangan ready kaagad yung mga paaralan natin. And then, the possible impact of those mga advisories or weather disturbance sa mga learners natin at sa mga personnel. The school should be ready for an evacuation center if there is no other choice na. Within 24 to 72 hours from landfall, of a tropical cyclone or from flooding and or landslide from any weather disturbance other than tropical cyclones. Also, if safe, undertake a rapid assessment of the impacts and damages from the hazard. So kung safe naman, matatansya mo naman. So within 24 to 72 hours, kung ongoing pa, kung hindi pa safe, do not do it. Kasi safety first naman tayo. So kung may mga delikado pa, halimbawa doon sa mga paaralan, may mga delikado pa tayo. So, wag mo nang gawin safety first. Pero if safe, undertake a rapid assessment of impacts and damages from the hazards that is being done to the schools and what are their impacts and the damages that is being incurred. Submit the Rapid Assessment of Damages Report o RADAR. Ito yung tinatawag nating RADAR, Rapid Assessment of Damages Report. I'm sure yung mga school heads ay familiar dito at lahat ng mga teachers yung RADAR. Guided by DepEd Order number 21 series of 2015. This includes the assessment of damages to school facilities, educational resources, and impacts to learners and personnel. So, dapat na-assess no yung assessment, rapid assessment of damages report. So, kasali na yung damages sa mga school facilities, educational resources, and impact to learners and personnel. Continue to disseminate advisories and or warnings from authorities. So, kung may mga instructions pa, pwede natin i-forward lahat ng mga yan, mga instructions, para mabigyan pa rin ng mga guidance yung ating mga stakeholders, mga learners, at mga parents. Continue the submission of reports and updates to Division DRRM Coordinator. Of course, continue talaga. Kasi pag nag-stop tayo, anytime kasi yan, no? Before, after, or during and after. So, kailangan talaga i-update talaga lang natin palagi ang ating DRRM Coordinator. So, we must deploy response and learning continuity interventions in coordination with the school's division office and other community stakeholders and partners. Kasi naman, may mga partners naman tayo or stakeholders that are helping the school. Not necessarily na yung tayo-tayo lang, no? There are other interventions that may occur. The non-government organizations, the private entities, posible silang magbigay ng help. So, we must update and submit reports to the division, the DRRM coordinator on this so that our division, the DRRM coordinator will be updated kasi may mga reports yan na hinihingi sa atin from the central office. So, dapat talaga, we must be updated on the learning continuity interventions and done by other stakeholders and partners. So, it is very important to update always. So, hindi pwede na hindi tayo mag-update. After 7 hours and onwards, from landfall of a tropical cyclone or from flooding and or landslides, from any weather disturbance other than tropical cyclones, ibig sabihin after 7 hours, medyo matagal-tagal na rin yun, and onwards, no? So you continue to implement response and learning continuity interventions, including the conduct of psychological first aid for affected learners and personnel. So kasi pag grabe yung impact ng mga calamities, so yung ibang mga personnel or learners, medyo yung iba natutrauma, sa shock, di ba? So kailangan talaga ng psychological first aid. So yung mga school nurses natin, alam na alam nila ito. So dapat humingi tayo ng assistance from them in conducting psychological first aid. Yung iba may mga trained naman tayo ditong mga school personnel on conducting psychological first aid. So this is very very important yung how to conduct this psychological first aid. And then kasi mahirap yan, di ba? The psychological process yan. Then continue coordination and the submission of reports and updates to the Division DRRM Coordinator, including the submission of radar. So, yung rapid assessment natin ay dapat pa rin continue yung pag-update. So, hindi tayo mag-stop kahit tapos na yung calamity. It is very important to update them all the time so that they know what is happening in the school, ano yung mga development, kasi pag hindi tayo nag-report, we cannot expect a technical assistance that will be given to us. So, kailangan talaga i-report natin yung mga nagaganap sa ating paaralan because that will give the Division DRRM Coordinator a hint kung ano yung gagawin nila, ano yung mga plans, and ano yung mga response measures na gagawin sa schools. So pag tinatago natin yung mga kondisyon ng ating schools, ang ating personnel, ang ating mga learners, pag hindi natin sinabi sa ating mga Division DRRM Coordinator, then we cannot expect help from them. So it is very important to update always. So kasi in that way, we can expect financial or not financial, psychological or technical assistance coming from the DRRM coordinator or other division personnel. So, yun lang po, no? I think the issuance of this DepEd order is very timely and relevant in our situation, wherein we are guided with all the things that we can do, especially on this BOCAD world. BOCAD, no? Nidagdagan ng letter D, disruptive, ng Career Executive Service Board. So, yung BOCAD world natin ay hindi natin masabi kung anong mangyayari. So, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and disruptive. Dapat may counter BOCAD din tayo. So, dapat vigilant. We must be understanding. So, we must be, yung VOCA, no? Vigilant, understanding. We must be clear. And most of all, we must be agile. So, VOCA pa rin yung ating acronym. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you learned something from this encounter and this will help you prepare for the principal's test. Thank you very much at mabuhay kayong lahat. Ang panalangin ko, sana magkaroon na ng principal's test. Kahit nag-resign na si Yosek Jess, sana magkaroon pa rin ng kalinawan at na napipinto na yung pagpapalit ng administration sa national level at yung secretary of course and some other USEC and ASEC will step down in next year. So June 2022. I hope that they will give light and shed light to this principal's test kasi marami talagang mga vacancies in schools ngayon na walang pa mga principal passers so hindi ma-fillinan yung mga vacancy. So maraming salamat sa inyong pakikinig at panonood ng aking video. Please continue to support at huwag mag-skip ng ads para makatulong sa channel ko. Maraming salamat at magandang buhay sa inyong lahat.